welcome to this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through their industry insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have Janet Macaluso. She is the founder of Learning to Lead. Welcome to the show, Janet.
Great. Thank you so much for having me, Ajay. Looking forward to our talk today.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for pronouncing my name in the Indian way correctly. So thank you for that. And you are welcome to the show once again. And I'm sure a lot of people will be able to benefit from what we are talking today about designing your second chapter in life. So, Janet, I just want to understand, a lot of people generally focus on the initial part of life, that this is the time we must utilize the best years of our life. You talk about designing your next chapter in life, business, work. Why is that focus? Help us understand. Let's start with that.
Well, first of all, I think from a very personal reason, I'm in my second half of life. And so people can relate or not with that. And the thing is that we're actually now, humans are living on the planet 30 years longer than they did in the 19th century. But there's no infrastructure or protocol or process for people. We know you have parents and coaches and schools and university, then you get a job, you get married and have a mortgage. There's this whole expectation and infrastructure of how you live your life. And maybe you get an MBA, whatever it happens to be. But then it's supposed to be, you're done. What happens, especially when we're living 30 years longer? And my job, my calling now is to help bright, smart, educated people who don't want to just sit on that couch for the next 30 years. In fact, there's this kind of dirty little secret about retirement. When people retire, the dark side of that is they're watching too much TV, they lose their identity, they eat too much, and they lose the cognitive stimulation, social interactions. So my job that I'm now committed to is helping like-minded people move to their next level, taking what they have, but designing it their way this time.
Absolutely. So, for every designing that happens, there are certain tools. So, what are the tools that you use that help midlife change makers, practical visionaries, and lifelong learners transform their success to significance? What are the tools that you employ to bring this significant change or redesigning into the lives of such people? So how do you do that? Who is this for? Anyone who is there a particular age to it? Or how does one feel that, know exactly that I need redesigning in my work life or life itself?
Well, I'll answer that last question. You might know that you need or want, or there's something calling for you, maybe just because of your chronology and your age, and you're realizing, I'm getting at the age where there's more people younger and work than my age. What am I going to do next? But it also could be for someone, I would say 40s and beyond is my target group of people, because it could be, again, I use this analogy of the chewing gum has lost its flavor. Or you might have 10 years of experience, or do you have 1 year 10 times? And if you're starting to feel like, how many mornings am I going to copy paste the same thing? Maybe to a different company, but just implement the same thing I did. Is there anything more? It's those little voices that I want people to pay attention to. And I'm saying, yes, and there is. And so what I use, which is actually different because I spent, like I said, 30 years in global corporate organizations in learning, leadership, organization, design, and development. I know the traditional way. I probably lose money by not doing the traditional way anymore, which is I could be a coach and get and ask your boss, your peers, your employees, what do you think of Ajay? And then I write up a report that I got from everyone else, and then I give that to you and I say, here. That's what I used to do. I would hire consultants and coaches to do that to our people. Now I don't do that type of work anymore because I think it's outsourcing the development. So what I use instead, you called it tools. The process that I use is a Socratic method of questioning that actually develops you. And often when I work with clients, they say, I'm exhausted after this because I'm asking deep questions. And why did you say that? And where did it come from? And what's the source? And what's the value? And what's the opposite? Asking those types of questions, I believe and I have seen, not only in myself, but in others, it builds your will and your potential to do more and be more. So that's the Socratic method is one of the, I'll stop there, but that's one of the ways that I help others.
Right, Janet. So to understand your method, what is that you call it an anti-hero approach to developing professionals for their. What is this anti-hero approach here? And you use masterminds and hiking retreats in Spain. So that's a very new sort of a stuff. People do it, but being it a part of this whole redesigning of the second chapter in life, this sounds interesting. So help us 3 aspects here. One is the anti-hero approach, the mastermind part, and as well as the hiking retreats in none other than such a wonderful place as Spain. Why Spain?
So my last job, we used to take the executives to Spain. The company's headquarters were in Switzerland. It's a global company. We would meet in Spain and go hiking. And we would take them on retreats and then sit under a tree and ask them sort of Socratic method questions. They would have a journal and then they would do team building and with one or another person and hike. And as I was doing this for others, I would look around and say, how could I want to live my life this way? Because we were asking them deep questions. What's your best future self look like? How are you going to get there? And as I'm asking those questions, of course, they're going through me. And I said, is there a way for me to design my best future self that brings what I know, leadership and organization development, but my way this time? And right now I'm talking to you from my home in Malaga, Spain, because I designed that. Now that took me 5 years to work it all out. It didn't happen overnight, but I know, and that's the process that I want to help people work through, is what is your best future self? Let's start thinking and planning and moving in that direction, because time is not stopping. And then part of that, like before, was the hiking, and I want to continue doing that hiking, and I do it with one-on-one leaders now, but I want to start doing it with my groups. So that's my answer to your Spain question. Anti-hero approach is very much this, I call it, instead of coaching, I call it resourcing. And that is returning the source of power to the person I'm talking to versus me being the expert guru who's going to fill your head up with all of my best practices and research. I'm going to use that Socratic method I told you to help you think about how you see this from multiple different perspectives. And so that's the anti-hero approach, is not telling you the answer, although I will tell you, I'm an Italian American and I can be a little bit strong-willed. So sometimes at the end, my opinion will come out, but mostly it's the anti-hero approach. And then the mastermind, thank you for asking. I am starting that up at the end of the month. And I have about 4 people already joined. And it's a small group of professionals who want to spend a year meeting once a month to work on how could they design their second half. And like I did, it took me 5 years, but starting that process. And I think a year is giving us, number one, enough time to really rewire our brains and unlearn some of the stuff that doesn't serve us anymore. And then learn the new stuff, the new way of being and doing. So it's a year-long process that will work with me and other like-minded professionals to develop a conscious approach to leadership. So that could be, and I work with a lot of businesses, but also it could be some cause that someone has. The only difference I would make is that earlier on in my career, Ajay, I was focused more on personal development and self-improvement. And now the people I want to work with in my mastermind is they want to work on themselves in order to evolve the ecosystem, whatever that happens to be. Like the work that you're doing now, helping people learn and earn. You are developing yourself in a way so that you can serve and evolve others. That's what I'm here to do too.
Wonderful, wonderful. Now, look, those people who are looking at, say, redesigning their life, and especially the second chapter, especially leadership and whoever it is. So, what are they actually looking for? Is it about thinking about a legacy for themselves? When they know that now this is the time. Is it about regeneration, that they want to, create a second work life, much more fulfilling, which can be, which can extend their work life? Many people want to work for a long, long time. Or is it more about self-actualization, about spiritual attainment, about things when they can see things from much more, a bit away from the happenings, relook at things, and then rejoin the workforce or the life itself and try to live it in a better manner. The second half, as I said, the life begins at 40. Maybe now it's a regenerative life or the redesigned life that will begin at 40. How do you look at that? How are these executives looking at the second part of their life when they try and connect with you?
I would say it's all of the above, Ajay, from the things you said, 1, 2, or 3. I'd say all of those. So a difference from how I've traditionally worked in corporations, and now I work now, is I take a living systems approach. And if you think about the world that we're in today and the climate change and all of the things that we want to improve, I would say that the thinking, this is from Einstein, the thinking that got us here isn't going to get us where we want to go. So what I help people do is first look at the paradigm. Do they know the source of the thinking and the doing? So for an example, I used to own talent management, succession planning, where we would rate unique people and put them on a bell curve, or put them in a box, one of 9 boxes, whether you had high potential, low potential, no potential. And so there was a lot of this haves or had nots. And we were slating and slotting and ranking and putting people in these boxes. But living systems doesn't work that way. That was really good for the industrial age, when people were making widgets in a row and things were very linear and mechanical. But we live in a very complex world now, full of diversity. And so I take a living systems approach. I'm a living system. You are a living system. Together, we're a social system living in a planetary system. So I want to, that is the source of my thinking. And this is really important. All living systems, you, me, and your listeners, as living systems, we're in a process of becoming. We're always becoming the next level. That's like the edge where I want to work with people. You are always becoming. Do you want to do it deliberately, consciously, at a higher level of thinking and discernment? Or are you just going to go with the flow and see where the waves take you? I want to work with the people who want to take the reins, use this kind of deeper thinking to go to the next level than before. And so that's that. When I talk about regenerative, that's the living systems approach that I'm talking about, reinventing, regenerating our lives, because it's happening anyway. So we might as well work with our living systems approach. And so it's very much self-actualizing, like you said, but I am self-actualizing on behalf of the system that I want to help grow and develop. I don't know about you, Ajay, but this is all new to me, this social media, being on podcasts and posting a lot. I was a lurker. I didn't do any of this. The reason why I do it is because I have such a compelling vision now and aspiration of the people I want to work with, that it calls me to be more than I am. And that's what I work with people. What is your third line of work, your next chapter that is so powerful and compelling that you're willing to be the author of your book, or the puppeteer and not the puppet anymore? So that's why I'm talking to you today.
Wonderful, wonderful. Talking of social media, we all are learning and unlearning, as you say, learning and unlearning. That's the way, sign your emails, and even in social media's concept, I can tell you that we all keep on learning and unlearning, not only about social media, but so many other things in life. The good part is that in today's age, we are getting hold of some new technology, which is very helpful. But at the same time, we also have to have a good balance, so that the technology, the technology revolves around us, and we are not revolving around technology. As long as we are able to do that, it will be a good life, a wonderful life for all. So now coming to about you talked about the living system approach, and you have talked. So how do you tell us a bit more about your company, Learning to Lead? What exactly it is? And secondly, you are taking applications for the third line mastermind. So how do people apply for that? How can people connect with you so that they are able to make the best out of you through being a part of the living systems approach that you take for themselves?
So I would say to go to my website, and that is www.learning2lead, as you see on the screen, but in case you're listening, it's learning2lead.com, and you'll see more about my third line mastermind or my one-on-one coaching. And for this founding group that I'm starting with, this mastermind, I'm including for the founders who join this mastermind coaching as well. So I think it's a sweet deal for just this founding group. If anyone wants to join in, please reach out to me at Janet at learning2lead.com to ask questions. I'm happy to talk to you about that. So that's my website, and that's where people can find out more about the work. And I work now, I do some coaching with companies that keep me very busy, and we look at the whole system and how they can, the leaders can become change leaders for the enterprise as they're actually thinking about their 5-year plan and how they have to evolve as leaders and evolve the company, because the aspirations that they have, they realize that their current organization and talent and capability will not get them to the 5-year plan that they have. So the people I work with in corporations are evolving their capacity to evolve that enterprise. And then I do one-on-one coaching for sure. And now I'm starting this mastermind. It's me and a couple of like-minded colleagues who work with me as peers who think the same way, a philosophic approach, a living systems approach that incorporates, I would say, modern science and ancient wisdom.
Wonderful, wonderful. That's very much required. Modern science and ancient wisdom. That's the best way to go. And as you have put it very, very correctly, that's the way we must follow. So on this note, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.
Thank you.